You and I sit here in this moment with this truth we have.
Kody Brown has always framed himself as the patriarch under pressure, but this time, the pressure might actually break him, because insiders say he just exploded after a recent child support ruling, storming out of court, eyes blazing, muttering to anyone who'd listen that the judgment would bankrupt him. That's not a figure of speech. That's what he reportedly told the judge, word for word. And when the court clerk caught up to him later in the parking lot, he doubled down, allegedly snapping that he won't be strong-armed into paying for kids who've been turned against me.
Kody's allegations are absolutely ridiculous. All the kids that were frustrated way before I left. My leaving didn't change his kids' relationship with him. Kody can still fix his relationships with his children.
Christine, who was still inside collecting the signed paperwork, apparently didn't hear it, but her attorney did. And according to courthouse whispers, they were already preparing for Kody's next move before he even made it. A court appeal that could drag out this financial fight for months. This didn't come out of nowhere. The child support order didn't just sting, it shocked. The ruling included monthly payments far above what Kody had anticipated, along with a retroactive clause that reached back over a year. And because Christine allegedly had all the receipts ready, school invoices, copay bills, even Venmo screenshots, there was little room for Kody to argue. He's livid, said one family friend, but it's his own fault for acting like child support is a personal attack. It's not revenge, it's reality. And yet Kody's spin is already forming. He's apparently telling close confidantes that Christine blindsided him, that the judge was biased, and that the numbers don't reflect his current income status. But the real kicker? He's now threatening to appeal, and not quietly either. The appeal chatter reportedly started before the ink on the court order even dried.
The whole plan at that point was for that home, my home, to be kind of an asset for the family. Eventually, when I'm built out on the property, it was never supposed to end up being something that was just mine.
Sources close to Robyn say Kody paced their living room all night long, ranting about false numbers and calling the judgment a political hit job. But family insiders think the appeal threat isn't really about justice, it's about delay. He wants to stall. That's what this is, one source alleged. If he can keep dragging it out, maybe he won't have to pay for a while, or maybe he hopes Christine will give up. The irony? By threatening to appeal, Kody might have opened the door to a deeper financial audit, one that could force him to turn over full documentation of his spending, income, and past transfers. And if those records surface, the cracks could run far deeper than just a few missed payments. Because word is, one of those financial transfers flagged by Christine's legal team happened just days before the judge issued their ruling. And guess whose name is allegedly on the transaction? That's right, Kody's. And that's when it got even messier. By the time Christine's team slid that document across the courtroom table, Kody's whole posture had changed. Gone was the puffed-up bluster, gone was the victim of the system routine.
Right now, I'm requiring a bit of a distance, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm just starting to get to know me, and I really like me. And I want to keep it that way, and I also want to keep things as easy emotionally since Truly's around me all the time, too.
For a brief moment, according to someone present, he looked genuinely rattled. And that's saying something. Because what Christine's attorney allegedly handed over wasn't just a bank statement, it was a highlighted transaction from one of the family's old joint accounts. A transfer made within 72 hours of the child support hearing, and the amount? Nearly $15,000. Straight out, straight gone. No explanation, just a one-line memo, family needs. Now that alone might have passed under the radar, but the kicker? The account had been inactive for over a year. Christine's team claims Kody reactivated it, allegedly. On the record, of course, there's still no formal accusation of wrongdoing, but behind closed doors, sources say Christine's camp believes the move was deliberate, an attempt to shift assets out of reach before the judgment hit. One insider close to the court proceedings put it bluntly, Christine didn't accuse him of fraud. She didn't need to. She just slid the paper across the table and waited. And when the judge saw it, they reportedly paused, looked directly at Kody and said, "Is there anything you'd like to clarify?" He didn't clarify. He clammed up. And that silence said more than words ever could. According to courtroom buzz, that moment sealed the deal. The judge's ruling was already leaning heavily in Christine's favor, but the unexpected evidence turned it from a formality into a reckoning. And now that the ruling's public legal analysts are weighing in, you don't move that kind of money right before a support hearing, unless you're preparing for an outcome you don't like, one retired family court mediator shared. And when you do it from a dormant account, it raises red flags. Robyn, who was not present at the hearing, is allegedly fuming behind the scenes, not just about the child support, but about how her household is being dragged into the mud.
I couldn't find that with them anymore.
Not even Janelle?
No,
I mean, do you think
she's just not that intimate. I mean, emotionally.
Because word around Flagstaff is that the money didn't just disappear. It may have landed somewhere all too familiar. Several fans online have even zeroed in on the timeline, matching the transfer date to a luxury delivery photographed outside Robyn's home that very week. Coincidence? Maybe, but social media sleuths aren't buying it. One fan wrote, "You don't move 15 grand and then suddenly have new outdoor furniture and Amazon hauls showing up. The optics are terrible. The timing, worse." And sources claim that the transfer might be one of several Christine's team quietly flagged while prepping the case. One former family friend even hinted that Kody's been shifting money in chunks, keeping each amount small enough to avoid notice, but together, the pattern allegedly tells a very different story, and the next transfer might just blow everything open. The moment Christine left the courthouse, she didn't look victorious. She looked vindicated. There's a difference. Winning is about numbers. Vindication is about the principle. And according to someone close to her legal team, that's exactly how she framed it behind closed doors. This was never about punishing Kody, she reportedly told her attorney. It was about what our kids deserve, period. And by the looks of it, she came prepared. Sources say Christine had been quietly compiling financial evidence for months. Every bounced tuition check, every ignored dentist bill, every textbook she paid for herself while Kody was off prioritizing his main household. That phrase came up a lot. Main household. It wasn't just about money. It was about what that money represented. Because to hear Christine tell it, Robyn's household wasn't just Kody's legal wife. It was his financial safe zone. And everything outside of it? Disposable. Even the kids. That's what stung most, according to insiders.
Kody and Robyn shared everything. They shared the house payments, they shared the utilities, they shared everything.
I don't know how it worked at Robyn's house. I don't know. But I used to always be surprised at how nice her backyard was. It was completely finished, and there was always like stuff at her house, and I'm like, wow.
One source close to the family said Christine had hoped to settle this privately, but Kody's refusal to acknowledge his financial obligation to the kids who don't live under Robyn's roof forced her hand. And when her attorney discovered a suspicious sequence of PayPal receipts and matching bank withdrawals, the private option flew out the window. The receipts reportedly paint a pretty compelling story. Over a span of 5 months, small deposits often under $2,000 were sent from an account tied to one of the family's LLCs. The receiving account? An online business under Robyn's name. And while no one's formally accused them of hiding money, Christine's attorney allegedly framed it this way. There's a reason the judge doesn't need to see intent. The pattern is enough. Fans online have already nicknamed it the PayPal Trail, and it's becoming a symbol of something bigger, of how far Christine had to go just to get what should have been handled months ago. Because while Kody was transferring funds in silence, Christine was digging quietly, strategically. With the help of a close friend, rumored to be an accountant, she began matching calendar dates with family events, trying to pinpoint when the biggest withdrawals happened. And you know what allegedly stood out? The timing. The largest single PayPal transfer on record? It happened the same weekend as Robyn's birthday, a weekend where Kody didn't show up to visit any of the kids outside of her household. Not a single call. According to what one teen reportedly told a friend, just silence. And a luxury spa booking in Sedona that someone posted about before deleting the photos. If even half of what Christine uncovered is accurate, this isn't just a matter of missed payments, it's a pattern. And patterns are what courts care about, because they suggest behavior, priorities, neglect, and the next priority on the judge's desk? A closer look at where that $15,000 really went. Robyn didn't set foot in the courtroom, but her presence was everywhere. Not because anyone called her out by name, but because the money kept pointing back to her front door. Multiple sources close to the family claim that since the ruling, Robyn has gone completely silent, refusing to respond to group chats, and leaning harder than ever into her role as Kody's only true partner. But while she might be silent, her spending allegedly isn't. The $15,000 transfer that Christine's attorney flagged? It reportedly matches down to the date and amount. A luxury furniture invoice posted by a Flagstaff interior design vendor on social media just days earlier. The post has since been deleted, but fans had already screenshot it. One eagle-eyed Reddit user even claimed the company only has one client in that gated hillside community, and it's not hard to guess who that might be. And this isn't an isolated incident. Insiders allege Robyn has been quietly remodeling parts of her home over the past 6 months. New lighting fixtures, updated bedroom suites, outdoor upgrades, and none of it cheap. A former neighbor told a local blog that delivery trucks have become a weekly fixture, with packages sometimes arriving late into the evening. It's like watching a Pinterest board come to life, they joked. But for the rest of the Brown family, it's not so funny. Because while Robyn's curated aesthetic is flourishing, Christine had to fight tooth and nail to get tuition help for a teen who's already applying to colleges. The imbalance is glaring, and fans have noticed. Social media exploded after the court documents went public. Hashtags like "Where is the money?" and "Brown family receipts" started trending, with users sharing side-by-side shots of Robyn's home upgrades versus the modest setups in the other households. One TikTok creator even stitched clips of Robyn talking about unity and fairness with a background voice that sarcastically intoned, "Sure, Jan." The backlash is fierce. One fan comment reads, "Kody said he couldn't afford Christine's back support while Robyn was ordering custom drapes? You can't make this up." And the truth is, those optics matter, especially in court. Legal experts say that when one parent is demonstrably living in luxury while the other is documenting missed bills and unpaid reimbursements, it strengthens the argument for enforcement. "Judges don't love games," said one family law analyst. "If they get a whiff that one party's hiding behind another's name or assets, they'll start issuing subpoenas." And guess what's allegedly next? Christine's team may push for exactly that: formal access to Robyn's business accounts. Because the question isn't just whether Kody paid or didn't pay, it's whether funds meant for the kids were redirected to boutique headboards, custom furniture, and yes, even that infamous doll room. And rumor has it, the kids are finally speaking up about what they've seen behind closed doors. It's one thing for ex-wives to battle over finances, but when the kids start weighing in, the narrative changes. And according to multiple insiders, Kody wasn't prepared for just how much resentment had built up in silence. In fact, it wasn't until after the court ruling leaked that some of the older children allegedly began speaking more openly about what they'd witnessed in Robyn's home and what they'd gone without in theirs. One young adult reportedly told a close friend, "I had to drop out of school for a semester because nobody would co-sign my loan." Meanwhile, Robyn's kids got a brand new homeschool suite with top-of-the-line MacBooks. It was like we didn't exist. That kind of raw frustration doesn't just disappear, it festers, and insiders say Christine's legal team is well aware of it. They've allegedly been collecting statements, messages, and even receipts from some of the adult children who've quietly supported their mother behind the scenes. It's not about dragging Robyn or the younger kids, it's about illustrating what one insider called a clear pattern of selective parenting, and while that phrase isn't legal jargon, it packs a punch in court when paired with evidence, especially when one daughter reportedly showed proof that Kody missed her birthday 3 years in a row, yet sent pricey gifts to Robyn's youngest, twice in the same month. But it's not just birthdays or laptops. One of the most emotionally charged stories comes from a teen who allegedly went public in a private online group, saying they had to forego senior pictures because no one could afford the photo package. The same weekend, Robyn posted a glowing update about redecorating her foyer. That post was deleted within hours, but not before screenshots circulated. Christine herself has remained quiet about the specifics, but those close to her say she's no longer trying to protect Kody's image. She used to say, "Don't badmouth your dad," one longtime friend shared. Now, she tells the kids, "Speak your truth," and they are. Kody's reaction to this emotional wave has reportedly been volatile. According to one source, he recently stormed out of a family group Zoom after one of his sons asked, "Why is there always money for Robyn's stuff but never for our college apps?" He didn't answer. He just logged off. That moment, replayed through secondhand accounts and text threads, has become symbolic of the entire mess. The silence, the favoritism, the refusal to take responsibility unless legally forced. And as the emotional damage spills further into public view, Kody's image is taking another hit from a direction he didn't expect. Because while he was telling the court he couldn't afford to support all his children, he was allegedly spotted test driving something that costs more than a year of college tuition. And guess what color that luxury SUV was? Robyn's favorite shade of deep metallic blue. It always comes back to the optics, and on this particular afternoon, the timing could not have been worse. Less than 24 hours after Kody declared in court that his income was not stable enough to sustain monthly child support at the court's requested rate, he was allegedly spotted clear as day at a high-end dealership just outside of Flagstaff. Not browsing, not just looking, test driving. A luxury Mercedes SUV. According to a fan who shared the sighting in a private Facebook group, Kody looked very comfortable behind the wheel. When asked if he was trading something in, he reportedly laughed and said, "Nope, this one's just for me." It didn't take long for that story to spread. Screenshots, anonymous tips, even grainy cell phone images showing the distinctive chrome grille and dealership tags. And while there's no confirmed purchase on record yet, the fact that he was entertaining the idea sent a very clear message. This wasn't a man fighting to keep the lights on. This was someone whose version of bankruptcy might look very different than the rest of ours. Legal observers say this could come back to haunt him, because if Christine's attorney decides to formally subpoena Kody's post-ruling purchases and a large down payment shows up on his statement, it could severely undercut his appeal's credibility. But here's where things get even stickier. Sources allege that this wasn't just a random splurge. It may have been funded. Whispers are swirling that the money used to secure that Mercedes wasn't solely Kody's. Some insiders speculate that Robyn either co-signed the deal or funneled family assets to make it happen. If that's true, and again, there's no hard proof yet, it would completely collapse the image Kody tried to present in court. Because remember, he claimed to be financially isolated from Robyn's income. said they kept things separate, said she had her own obligations, and now there's allegedly a vehicle on the road that might say otherwise. The court of public opinion is already out for blood. Imagine telling a judge you can't pay child support and then driving off in a Mercedes. One TikTok comment read, "He's not even hiding it anymore." Another fan posted a satirical breakdown of Kody's expenses, listing things like hair products, $800, child support $0, and Mercedes test drives, priceless. The humor stings because it's hitting close to the truth, and it's being amplified by a growing sense that Kody's lifestyle is being protected, while Christine and the other kids are forced to justify every penny. And just when it seemed like Kody couldn't look any worse, a quiet voice from the sidelines stepped forward. Meri. She hasn't said a word publicly in months, but behind the scenes she's reportedly sitting on financial records of her own. Records that trace back to a family payout that was supposed to be split evenly. But when Meri finally tallied her share, she came up $75,000 short. Meri has always been the quiet one. Even when everything crumbled, she stayed mostly in the shadows, posting cryptic quotes, avoiding direct jabs, and keeping her head down. But that doesn't mean she wasn't watching. And according to someone in her inner circle, she's been tracking every dime that passed through the family's shared accounts for years. The shocking part, she didn't come forward earlier because she assumed the numbers would eventually even out. But now, watching Kody claim poverty in court, watching Christine scrape for child support while Robyn upgrades chandeliers, Meri's patience has finally cracked. What set her off, allegedly, wasn't the Mercedes. It wasn't even the spa rumors. It was a quiet audit. See, when Meri decided to expand her bed and breakfast and sought a small business grant, her accountant friend asked a simple question. What was her total payout when the family dissolved its joint assets in late 2022? And when they pulled the figures, the math didn't add up. Meri's expected share was over $150,000, but what landed in her business account? Just under $75,000. The rest, gone. No explanation, no memo lines. Just a transfer to family fund that no one seems to remember authorizing. That discovery allegedly sent Meri into full documentation mode. Emails, bank statements, even text messages with Kody about how the remaining funds would be recalibrated later. But later never came. And now with Kody spinning tales of financial ruin and Christine fighting to prove where the money went, Meri's documents might be the final nail in the coffin. Because if it turns out that Kody redirected part of Meri's payout into Robyn's household, or used it to float his own bills while refusing to contribute to Christine's kids, then his claim of being equally supportive to all wives completely falls apart. Christine and Janelle have allegedly known something was off for months. One source close to both women said they had a feeling Meri wasn't getting what she was owed, but Meri was so tight-lipped they didn't want to push. But now, they're allegedly working together behind the scenes, comparing timelines, cross-referencing bank activity, and mapping out just how much was taken and when. The emotional irony here? Meri never wanted to be part of the fight. Not after what happened with Kody, not after all the public humiliation, but even she has a line. And watching Christine walk into court alone, only to have Kody claim that child support would destroy him financially, pushed her past it. He destroyed us first, she allegedly told a friend, and now he wants sympathy? Let him explain where the missing $75,000 went before anyone feels bad. But here's the thing, Kody might not have that option anymore. Because just as this financial house of cards starts to teeter, someone pulled the land records on Coyote Pass. And guess what's suddenly due? A six-figure balloon payment. There's one asset in this saga that looms larger than all the others. Coyote Pass. The promised land. The parcel of dreams. The place Kody once swore would bring the whole family together. But instead, it's become a financial anchor. And according to newly surfaced land documents, it might be dragging Kody straight to the bottom. Because buried in the fine print of the purchase agreement is a clause that's now coming due. A balloon payment. $125,000, due this quarter. No extensions, no second chances. And according to a county records clerk who spoke on condition of anonymity, it's coming up fast. The file's already been flagged for action. If Kody had thought he could quietly ride out this child support battle without touching the land, that fantasy is over. Because insiders claim his appeal threat isn't just about fighting back, it's about buying time. Time to move money around. Time to shuffle assets. Time to prevent the one thing he allegedly fears most, foreclosure. Because if he can't make that balloon payment, and if the account it's tied to has already been drained by home improvements or luxury purchases, then the land is at risk. And losing Coyote Pass wouldn't just be a personal failure, it would be a very public collapse of the image he's tried to maintain for years. Worse, court insiders say Christine's team is already eyeing Coyote Pass as part of a potential lien strategy. If Kody defaults on payments, the court could allow collection through property, explained a family law expert. That's not uncommon in cases where liquid assets are inconsistent or hidden. And if Meri joins forces with Christine as rumored, then suddenly 2/3 of the original wives have a vested interest in reclaiming what was once promised to them. And let's not forget Janelle. She was the one most emotionally tied to that land. She camped on it, dreamed on it, and eventually walked away from it. But according to someone close to her, Janelle might not be as done with Coyote Pass as we thought. Whispers from her corner suggest she's considering a bold move, offering to settle with Kody. The idea? She waives her share of retroactive child support in exchange for full rights to the lot she originally staked out. She just wants a piece of peace, the insider said. She's tired of fighting, but if Kody won't pay what he owes, then he needs to give her something. It's a high-stakes offer, and one Kody's reportedly furious about, because accepting it means admitting he can't pay what the court ordered. But declining it, that could tip everything towards seizure or worse, and all of this is coming to a head at a pace no one predicted, because late last night, Christine's lawyer requested an emergency hearing, and it's happening at dawn. Sunrise came with sirens, at least metaphorically, because by the time Kody had his first cup of coffee, the emergency hearing was already underway. His legal team had received notice less than 12 hours prior, and they were scrambling. Christine's lawyer, according to courthouse chatter, filed the request late in the evening, citing urgent concerns over asset liquidation and non-compliance. Translation: she believed Kody was actively moving money to avoid paying the court-ordered support, and the Mercedes sighting, the deleted luxury invoice post, the dormant account reactivation, all of it went into the filing. Christine didn't have to scream, she just let the paper trail talk. The courtroom was small, closed to the public, but sources say the energy inside was anything but calm. Kody arrived looking exhausted, accompanied only by one of his attorneys. Robyn was nowhere in sight, and for the first time in a long time, Kody reportedly looked cornered. Because Christine's team didn't just show up with receipts, they came with a motion to freeze accounts. Not permanently, just until the financial records could be thoroughly reviewed. It's a protective measure. One legal analyst explained, courts do this when there's suspicion that someone's trying to outmaneuver a judgment, and that's exactly what Christine's team alleged. That Kody, upon realizing he'd be hit with back payments, began shifting funds, either into Robyn's name or into non-liquid assets like vehicles and home upgrades. The Mercedes wasn't the smoking gun, it was the pattern around it. And when Meri's accountant friend submitted a sworn statement confirming a missing payout from their old family LLC, the judge reportedly nodded slowly, then turned to Kody and asked the same question Christine's lawyer had asked months ago. Can you account for every transfer made after October? Sources say Kody was stunned. He hadn't expected Meri to jump in. He hadn't expected her quiet ledger to become part of the case. But here it was on record, under oath, documented down to the date and dollar. And suddenly the threat of an appeal seemed almost laughable, because if the court believes there's intentional financial evasion at play, they can not only deny the appeal, they can impose penalties, fines, garnishments, even audits. And let's just say an audit is the last thing Kody wants right now. At one point during the hearing, Christine reportedly looked straight ahead, calm but unreadable. A source in the room said, she didn't flinch, she didn't gloat. She just looked like someone who'd waited years to be heard. And Kody, his foot tapped uncontrollably under the table. His lawyer requested a continuance. The judge said no, and when the session ended, Christine walked out with her team, quiet, steady, composed. But before the door even closed behind her, Kody allegedly muttered under his breath, "This isn't over." He's right, it's not, because someone just leaked who really paid for Kody's legal retainer, and it wasn't him. Turns out Kody didn't just walk into that courtroom broke, he walked in bankrolled, and not by his own wallet. According to two independent sources with knowledge of the legal filings, Kody's initial retainer, estimated at just over $20,000, was allegedly covered by an outside party. Not a loan, not a gift from a sibling, but a direct payment from an LLC linked to a small boutique business, registered under Robyn's name. The revelation came from a recent court disclosure where Christine's team requested documentation of how Kody intended to fund his appeal. That document, which hasn't been released publicly, reportedly included the name of the entity listed on the payment. And when Meri caught wind of the LLC, her reaction was reportedly just 2 words. Of course. If true, this undercuts one of Kody's central claims, that Robyn's finances are separate and that she plays no role in his legal maneuvering. But now, the narrative looks very different. Because this isn't just shared bank accounts, it's strategic support. And with that support comes control. As one insider put it, Robyn's not just in Kody's corner. She's holding the playbook and writing the checks. The optics here are devastating. While Kody tells the court he's unable to provide for the children he helped raise, Robyn is allegedly covering his legal bills, upgrading her home, and avoiding the courtroom altogether. That combination, silence, luxury, and financial leverage isn't sitting well with fans. Online reactions to the leaked retainer details were swift. So Christine has to sue for dental bills, but Robyn gets to sponsor Kody's courtroom pity tour, one commenter wrote. Another added, he's not broke. He's just funded by the wife, who benefits from him staying broke. As the dust settles, Christine's position has never looked stronger. The judge hasn't yet ruled on the motion to freeze assets, but legal experts say the odds are tipping in her favor. The court is seeing a pattern, one analyst explained. When there's financial inconsistency and selective disclosure, judges don't hesitate to act. The appeal? Hanging by a thread. And Kody? Reportedly fuming behind the scenes, more isolated than ever. But what comes next may not be legal at all. With Meri, Janelle and Christine now aligned in quiet but coordinated solidarity. There's chatter of something deeper, a public statement, a joint sit-down, even a potential book or docuseries that lays out exactly what happened behind the scenes, financially, emotionally, and structurally. Because for the first time in years, the women who once stood beside Kody are finding power without him. And if they speak, the House of Cards could finally collapse. So here's what we want to know from you. Should Kody be held legally accountable for every dime allegedly funneled out of family accounts? And do you think Robyn's financial support makes her complicit or just strategic? Make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because this story is far from over. The next video on your screen is waiting, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.